If you want to get money, you need leverage. And there are three forms of leverage. There is obviously money. If you got some money, you can deploy that against goals. You can buy businesses. You can hire employees. It's easier to start a business if you got some starting capital. You can buy a bunch of stocks. You can buy real estate, and you can make money a lot faster if you have some money already. This is why the rich get richer. But the other form of leverage is media. This example I always give, Kim Kardashian can make $1 million today by working with some brand, promoting them on Instagram, and she can get like $1 million for that. Like, she really can, right? Because her media is so big. Or Joe Rogan was given a few $100 million by Spotify because his media was so big, his podcast was so big that they paid him for it, and he can promote other brands on it. He basically built the On It supplement line on the back of his podcast, and he has some leverage. He has some equity in that company, but he was able to do that because he had media. So many eyeballs were watching it. It's easy to make money. In fact, when you talk about the mainstream media, their only job is to sell products and services or commercial. Like, the only thing the news is there for is to sell advertisement. They're not there to inform you. Their one job is to sell advertisement. And the more eyeballs they have, the easier it is for them to sell advertisement. They can sell it for more money. This is why the Super Bowl is one of the most expensive events to advertise on, because it gets so many eyeballs, media. And this is also why guys become billionaires and they start buying media company. Wait, Jeff Bezos went and bought the Washington Post, not because the newspaper is a good business to be in, right? It's a dying form of media. However, it's still influential, and it's still easier for him to make money if he's got that. Or why Elon Musk bought Twitter, which is social media. Now he's in control of it. He can start crafting narratives if he wants to. Media, but then skills. If you have a tremendous amount of skills in any arena, you can make money a lot easier if you're one of the best in your field. For example, my top salesperson, I paid him $300,000 last year. Another salesperson made $100,000 last year, right? But they worked the same amount of hours because his skill level was higher. He's been doing it a lot longer. He was able to make more money for the same amount of work. I grew up with a guy named Larry Fitzgerald. His grandfather was really good friends with my dad, and we used to go over his house for Kwanzaa. Kwanzaa's like Black Christmas. I don't really know what Kwanzaa is, but we used to celebrate it at Larry Fitzgerald's house. And he got sent away to live with his uncle, Chris Carter, who was a Hall of Fame wide receiver in the NFL. Chris helped him develop this skill set of catching footballs, and he became one of the best in the world at catching footballs. And he made millions and millions of dollars. Wasn't working harder than me. He's just better than me at a skill set that people were willing to pay a lot of money for. Now that we got that covered, what we want to focus on in this video is how you can develop skills. Because if you can develop skills at a high level, it'll be a lot easier to make money. Now you got to decide what skill you want to develop, but you got to think about what you're trying to accomplish, how you're trying to accomplish it. And if you can be one of the best at it, people will pay you a lot of money. For example, I got a friend named Jeremy Hayes, who's one of my best friends, and he is one of the best Facebook ads managers in the world. He runs my ad. And I know a lot of people who have Facebook ad agencies, but they don't make as much money as Jeremy. He just bought a Ferrari, Porsche. He's got all types of shit. He's really, really rich. And he's only 28, but he's super rich because he's one of the best at what he does. So people like me pay him top dollar to get the results he can get. I had another mentor, his name was Kevin Hodo, and he was one of the best as well. He taught me how to run Facebook ads before I had Jeremy running mine. And he's one of the best in the world. He was super rich, and he ran the ads for Alex Hormozi's gym launch company. Back in the day, he kind of helped them start that from an advertising perspective. And he was my mentor. He's dead now, but he was one of the best in the world. He made a lot of money, millions and millions of dollars. Right? So it doesn't really matter what it is. If you're really good, you can make a lot of money a lot faster. But how good do you have to be? Well, check this out. This is skill level or performance. Let's say your performance is correlated with your skill level, right? So let's say you do something bad. What kind of results do you think you're going to get? Nothing, right? You get nothing for sucking. If you trash, you get fucking fired. You bad at your job, you're getting the fuck out of here. You a bad boyfriend, bad girlfriend, you getting dumped and shit. Let's say you're good. What do you think you get? If you're good, what kind of results you get? Well, most people think you get good results. No, motherfucker. You get poor results because everything is pretty good. Like, it's hard to buy a bad computer now, right? You can any new car you get off of any lot, if it's new, it'll probably be good, right? So there's too much competition at good to really stand out. Now, what if you're outstanding? What kind of results do you get? You get good results, right? You don't get outstanding results. You get good results because now you're just better than the average, right? Good is average. Good is average. You're so a little bit above average, so you'll get good results. What if you're elite? What if you're elite? What do you get? You get everything because people only really want to fuck with the best. And the cream always rises to the top. And if you are one of the best in your field, you can charge whatever you want. Hey, this is a good podcast. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's a really good podcast. But who's elite? Like Joe Rogan, right? They gave him $100 million or something like that, right? He's also been doing it a lot longer, right? You know, this is like our fucking third episode or something. So it stands to reason, if you look at the 3 forms of leverage when it comes to making money, skills is one of the best ones. Anyone can get better at something. Anyone can get really good at something. But how do you do it? Well, let's get into it. When I was a child, I read a book called Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. I have all of Malcolm's books. I read them all. I have an autographed copy of The Tipping Point. And in this book, one of the things he asserted was called the 10,000 hour rule. To be world class, elite level at something, you got to put in 10,000 hours, right? And he gave a lot of examples. You know, one of the reasons Bill Gates became the richest man in the world at one time is because he was really good at computers. But he was kind of lucky in that regard. He went to a high school, like one of the first high schools in America that had like a computer program. So he was able to put in those hours. He was like obsessed with it. He got real good. Or the Beatles, another example Malcolm gives in the book is the Beatles played for years before they put out their first album. They just went touring around Europe and shit playing. Right, so they got really good before they even recorded their first album. It's just putting in the hours. You can get good at anything if you put in the hours. Now, a lot of people don't believe that, even though they read this book, and the link's in the description if you want to check it out. I read a different book after that, and it was called The Talent is Overrated. I think talent is a myth, right? Most people I know are not good at stuff just naturally. Larry Fitzgerald could not catch footballs any better than me when we was kids. Right? He did not stand out, right? He wasn't like better than me, but he had elite training from one of the best in the world. And he got in well over 10,000 hours before he went to college. That's what this book kind of asserted, right? You can get good at anything if you put in the work. And when I look at these 2 books, what I came up was, okay, 10,000 hours makes you really good at anything. 10,000 hours makes you elite at any skill set. But you don't need 10,000 hours for anything. I mean, for everything. You don't need 10,000 hours for everything. So I came up with my own version of this after reading those books. And what I kind of realized was it's not 0 hours and 10,000 hours, right? There's a gradient in between. I came up with this with myself, you know, when I was in my 20s. And I want to, this is the first time I'm kind of sharing this publicly. And I want to share this with you. When I first developed this theory is when I was learning how to play guitar. I could play drums in high school, and I played keyboard when I was a kid, and I wanted to learn guitar and wanted to pick it up. I did a lot of research all over the web, and people were saying, okay, you'll be pretty good in 90 days, 3 months if you practice an hour a day. So I saw that all over the world, the web, and then I did that and I got okay. But the more work I put in, the more hours I put in, I just noticed the skill level kind of jumped up a lot significantly. So what I started doing was tracking my hours, right? Because I was thinking, okay, 93 months, hour a day, that's about 90 hours. I started tracking my hours with a little spreadsheet, how many hours I practiced. I got decent at 100 hours, but at 1,000 hours, I was pretty fucking good, right? If you're ever bored, search on YouTube, Brandon Carter acoustic cover. You'll see some like amazing guitar. You'll see what 1,000 hours of guitar looks like. Right? It's pretty fucking good. Not one of the best in the world. You know what I'm saying? I ain't making Carlos Santana nervous. You know what I'm saying? John Mayer didn't fucking DM me, say, man, asking for lessons and shit. But, you know, anybody who saw it would be like, that guy's pretty good. But I extrapolated that to different fields, right? So every time I wanted to learn something, I started to look at it in terms of hours I put in, okay? So when I wanted to learn how to do handstand push-ups, you guys see me doing handstand push-ups, clapping handstand push-ups, tiger bends, all the crazy calisthenic stuff. Yeah, I wasn't born able to do that, right? I had to practice, and I couldn't even hold the handstand at first. But it took me close to 1,000 hours to really get the handstand where I can do it on command every time without falling. Like just whenever you tell me to. It's because it's one thing to get it and you can do it sometimes, but I could do a handstand push-up any moment. Wake me up in the middle of the night, put a gun to my head, do a handstand push-up, and I'll just knock it out. All right, man, get out of here, knock it off. That wasn't a challenge. Come up in here be like the fucking equalizer. I digress. It took about 1,000 hours when I tracked it to get to that point where I can just do it on command. And anything I wanted to accomplish, anything I wanted to get really good at, I started tracking my hours. I can tell how long it takes for a salesperson to get good enough where he's making a lot of money for me in the company. Around the 1,000-hour mark, they're a good salesperson. But there's levels to this shit, right? I've been doing sales since I was 16. And my dad was a good salesperson. If I say my numbers, you guys won't believe it, but statistically, I'm one of the best in the world, right? But I have a lot of fucking hours of it, right? I wasn't really born with it. So let me show you this chart, and this is something I made. So this is hours you put in of practice. You can master any skill. And this is what the skill levels look at like at different hours, right? So at 100 hours, it's like you're not bad. Nobody's gonna say you're awesome. It's not gonna be like jaw dropping. You're not gonna do something and then chicks are gonna throw their bras at you and nothing like that. You're not bad. I didn't say you were good. You're just not bad. At 1,000 hours, then you're good. You're good. That guy's pretty good. Now, at 2,000 hours, that's when you're really good. Like that's when you stand out. Like you're well above average. People are impressed with your skill level. This is anything you're trying to accomplish. Anything you want to get good at around 2,000 hours. At 5,000 hours, you're amazing. Like people see you do it and they're left in awe, right? They can't get over it. At 10,000 hours, according to Malcolm Gladwell and a bunch of other research, 10,000 hours, you're one of the best. Like you're one of the best. At 20,000 hours, I believe you're one of the best ever. Like you're one of the best to ever do it. You know what I'm saying? And you can see this when you look at like sports. Who are some of the best basketball players? Think about someone like Steph Curry. Well, there's footage of him as a little kid. His dad was in NBA and his dad would take him to practice. And he's practicing with the team as a little kid. You get what I'm saying? I talked to one of my sister's ex-husbands. He had a stepson from another marriage or some shit. I didn't know how it worked. It wasn't his kid, but he loved him. Anyway, he was really good at basketball. He was to a Division I basketball team and he wasn't good enough to get drafted, but he was good enough to get, a contract playing overseas. So he's a professional basketball player. And I asked him, what's the difference between a kid who's really good and a kid who becomes like a professional basketball player or goes to the NBA or all that stuff, right? Because a lot of that kid's friends are in the NBA right now. Some of them are in the playoffs today. I asked him, what's the difference? He said, the kids who are going to go to the NBA at like age 5, 6, they're practicing with like real coaches. You know what I'm saying? Think about that. Like they're children, right? And they're practicing already at like 5, 6 to be one of the best. And you can also see that with like Tiger Woods. There's footage of him as a little kid, like 5, 6. And he was on like the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson playing golf because he was like amazing at it at little. His dad was a professional golfer and he trained him since he was a child. That's why he's one of the best ever. He got that over 20,000 hours. Now, what does that look like for you? Right? You're not Tiger Woods. You ain't Steph Curry. You ain't my sister's ex-husband's stepson from his old marriage. What does that mean for you watching this? All right. Well, you can get good at anything if you put in the work. What does the work look like? So an hour a day, you can get 100 hours and be like not bad in 3 months. 3 months, right? That's not a problem. You can be like not bad at anything. If you do 2 hours a day, it's going to take you 1.7 months. 3 hours a day takes you about a month. 4 hours a day, you can do it in 25 days. I don't have that time. Shut up. Don't type. Some of you, one of you fucking dorks is thinking to type in, I don't have time to practice or get good at something. That's cool, man. Success is not for you. If you wanted it bad enough, you would. You motherfuckers are so eager. I can tell. You motherfuckers are so eager to argue for your own limitations. You could if you wanted to. Or maybe not if you got like 12, 13 kids, right? You made some bad decisions, man. You know what I'm saying? You should have wore condoms, pulled out, did both. But nah, you got 30 kids. You can't do it. Maybe you can teach this to your kid and they won't be a dummy like you. All right, let's say you want to get 1,000 hours. This is the point where you're like good at something. 1,000 hours. What's that look like? An hour a day? That's going to take you 1.7 years. 2 hours a day is going to take you 1.3 years. 3 hours a day, you could do it in a year. 4 hours a day. This is really where the magic is. You know what I'm saying? 4 hours a day, you can get there in 8 months. At anything. This should be encouraging if you want to get good at something like sales. If you have a sales job, where you're going to be fucking doing this shit like 8 hours a day, right? At least. You know what I'm saying? So this should be encouraging. Did you just know if you're not good now, you can get good? I think a big problem people have is they think it's talent, like a God-given talent you're just born with. Yeah, some people are born with different advantages, right? Like if you're fucking 4 feet tall, you're probably not gonna go to the NBA. I get it, right? But most skills you can improve it at least. If you want to get really good at 2,000 an hour a day, 5.5 years, 2 hours a day, about 2.5 years. 3 hours a day, 3 years. 4 hours a day, 16 months. 4 hours a day, 16 months. All right. It's 4 hours a day this is a sweet spot, man. I'm telling you. You want to be amazing. 5,000 hour mark. All right. 1 hour a day. It's going to take you about 13.5 years. 2 hours a day is going to take you almost 7 years. 3 hours a day is going to take you 4.5 years. 4 hours a day is going to take you about 4 years. 3.5 years, right? You want to be one of the best, elite. Malcolm Gladwell's book, Outliers, he said that it takes about 10 years to become a master at something, to get that 10,000 hours. On average, it takes people about 10 years to become one of the best at something, and that's kind of reflected my mathematical model, right? So if you're only practicing an hour a day, it's gonna take you like 27 years, right? If you're practicing 2 hours a day, it's gonna take you 13.5 years, 9 years, around 9 years. If you do 3 hours a day, 4 hours, man. That's where the magic is. That's really where the magic is. And if you want to be one of the best ever, the kind of motherfuckers people put posters up of, build statues for, right? All right. Well, hours a day is gonna take you 54 years. 2 hours a day is gonna take you 27.3 years. 3 hours a day is gonna take you 18 years, and 4 hours a day though, man, 13.6 years, right? Now, here's the thing. You don't need to be the best in the world at everything. You got to pick your things. You really got to pick your things, and don't let this discourage you. It should really encourage you, because you can get good at anything, right? I just said, hey, I want to start playing the guitar, and I got good at it. I just put in the hours. How it make me more money is really sales. Like, I was fortunate to be doing sales from a super young age, and I'm 40 years old now, and I've been doing sales since I was like, 16. I got a lot of hours. And the beauty of this is, man, if you really just go for it, you can really apply yourself. You can be one of the best in no time at something. You can be one of the best in no time, right? And if you do 8 hours, let's say you have a sales job, you work that job 8 hours a day, well, you can cut these in half. Just 8 hours a day. You can cut that in half and be one of the best salespeople in the world. And when it comes to skills and making money, sales is like the fucking cheat code. Sales is the cheat. Sales is probably one of the best skills you can have, because you can always find work. I remember my dad told me when I was a little kid, if you know how to sell, man, you don't never really have to worry about money. You don't never really have to worry about money. And I took that into account, right? And it gives me like a lot of confidence, because I know no matter what happens in business and life, if I lose everything, then I can just start selling something. I can call up some of the homies, or if I had to, I'd sell used cars. I ain't above that. I know I'm really good. I'm good enough to make a whole lot of money doing that. And you should really be encouraged. Now, here's the thing. You're going to need a regiment. I suggest you make yourself some sort of spreadsheet, and you start tracking your hours each day on the skill, right? And put that time in your calendar that you're going to practice. Unless the skill you're trying to develop is part of your job, well, then it's already there, right? You just got to start taking it seriously. And a lot of times people will try something new and it won't work day one. But they don't understand this shit, right? It takes time to get good at things. Of course you suck. It takes time to get good at things, right? You got to put in the hours. So if you suck at first, yeah, you're supposed to. It'd be weird if you were just good at something. Like, that's not a thing. Like, this rarely of anything valuable are people just good at naturally. Even singers who they may be born with a great voice, the top singers still have vocal coaches and trainers, and they're still working at it every day. Somebody gave me a guitar recently, and I was like, all right, let me start playing again. And I saw a little documentary on the guitar player from Maroon 5. And these motherfuckers got Grammys. They sold millions and millions of dollars, millions and millions of albums, real successful band. And he said when he's not on tour, he goes and works with a teacher, right? He has an actual teacher. Is a Grammy Award winning. He sold millions and millions of albums. The lead guitarist for one of the biggest bands in the world, maybe of all time, maybe, right? Statistically. And he still works with a teacher. Think about that. He's still trying to get better. It never ends. So someone like me, I'm always learning. I'm always getting new mentors, joining masterminds, reading books, and trying to build my skills up, right? Because it's super important, and you can just make more money the better you are. The better you are, you can make more money. So I encourage you to put together a regimen for yourself and start tracking the time you spend each day working on this skill set. And just don't even get discouraged. The results you get from the skill, right? If you want to get good at something, you being good at it is a result, right? If you look at that, you're going to get discouraged. But the leading indicator is how many hours you put in each day. And then it's just math. If you want to get good at something, it's just math. All it is math. That's all you have to do. You can get good at anything if you put in that work.